If you are in the market for the very best handheld GMRS walkie-talkie that money can buy, this is it right here. This is the Wouxun, and yes, I know it looks like it's spelled Wouxun, but it's pronounced Wouxun KG-805G. And on it, I have the upgraded Nagoya NA-771G antenna. Odds are, though, you're more familiar with this kind of walkie-talkie. This is what we call a bubble pack walkie-talkie because these are sold in plastic bubble packs, pairs of two. You can find them at Walmart, Target, any sporting goods store, or even Amazon. This is usually what they have for sale. And on the packaging, you will usually see outrageous claims of how far they will work. This one right here, well, this one is a Midland GXT 760. When I got it, it claimed 35 miles of range. That is complete fantasy. In the real world, you will never ever get anywhere near 35 miles of range out of any GMRS handheld walkie-talkie. In the real world, this usually gives me about a quarter mile of range. That's really about all I get out of that. But on the other hand, the Wouxun here, I can actually get around 2 miles of range on average. So I get about 8 times the distance out of one of these. Now, my old Midland here, this one transmits 5 watts of power. Exactly the same as the Wouxun here. These are both 5-watt radios. I should point out that because this is a discontinued model, if you try to buy a current bubble pack radio, you will have a hard time finding anything that is 5 watts. Most bubble pack radios that you find at Walmart these days are going to be 3 watts or less. But double the wattage doesn't necessarily give you double the range. What actually makes the biggest amount of difference here is that the Wouxun has much better circuitry and a much better antenna. A pair of the Midlands will generally cost you about $70. That's for 2 of them. The Wouxuns, on the other hand, well, these are $100 each. And the upgraded antenna, that's about another $18 each. So you do pay quite a bit more for these, but you do get what you pay for. Now, the reason that I have these walkie-talkies is primarily because I run a car club here in Austin, and we do a lot of road rallies. And it's very important for us to be able to have good car-to-car communication. We want to be able to tell people, oh, there's a pothole ahead, or there's a deer on the road, or we missed a turn, or whatever. It's very important to have this kind of communication. And for years, we used something like these Midlands here. And frankly, they just never worked all that well. They worked okay as long as I was only communicating to maybe 1 or 2 cars behind me. But if we had a good turnout, a dozen or more cars, we might have over a mile long of cars. And there's no way that the people in the middle or even in the back could ever understand anybody on these radios. So we recently switched over to using the Wouxuns, and it has been an absolute world of difference. The sound quality and the range is absolutely night and day difference versus bubble pack Midland radio right here. So I want to go ahead and actually show an actual functioning real world demo rather than just talk more about this. So here's what we're going to do. Okay, so here's the plan. I'm in one car, my wife is behind me in another car, and she's going to go ahead and stay here while I go and I drive down this road in front of me here. Now this road pretty much just goes that direction for several miles, but it curves a lot and there's a lot of elevation gain. So it's definitely not line of sight. I'm going to lose line of sight with her almost immediately. We're going to start off with the Midlands here. We're going to see just how far we can go before we lose each other on these. Once we lose each other on these, we will switch over to the KG-805Gs and we'll see just how far we can go with these. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. All right, I am ready. Here we go. All right, I've reset my odometer so we'll be able to tell just how far we've gone. And let's just see what happens. Okay, how do I sound now?
Coming in clear.
All right, that's at about 0.1 miles already. We'll check in at 2.2 miles. All right, 0.2 miles, how do I sound? Yeah, that didn't sound too good. But let's see what happens when we go around this curve here. 0.3 miles, how do I sound?
I understand, but there's a lot of static.
Yeah, it doesn't sound too good. All right, 0.4 miles, how about now? 0.4 miles, can you hear me? Now, I think we lost her already somewhere between 0.3 and 0.4, so we will switch radios. Okay, I am on the good radio now at 0.5 miles. How do I sound?
Extremely clear.
Yeah, clear as a bell on these things. All right, we're up to a light. We're going to have to stop for a second. All right, I am at 0.7 miles. How about now?
Very clear.
Yeah, really, really clear on these. Okay, I'm moving again.
Okay.
All right, this is at 0.8 miles. How do I sound?
You're coming in with a little static.
Yeah, the static will start to build up the further we go, but I can still totally understand her. All right, we are at 1 mile. How do I sound now?
Clear with a little static.
Not bad. Not bad at all. All right, we'll just keep going. Let's go to maybe 1.1 or so miles, and then we'll check in again. All right, 1.1 miles. How do I sound?
Clearer than before, less static.
Yeah, so I got a little clearer probably because I went up in elevation a little bit, and I have a little bit less terrain blocking us. All right, 1.2 miles or so.
Coming in clear, a little static.
Yep, a little bit of background static, but I can totally understand her, and she can totally understand me as well. 1.4 miles.
Came in with more static.
Yeah, there was a little bit of static there, probably because we just made a turn, a little bit more stuff blocking us, but let's see what happens. All right, I am now at 1.6 miles. Can you hear me at 1.6 miles? Well, that's unusual.
Yes.
Oh, yes, but there was a lot of static on that. 1.9 miles. How do I sound?
I understood, but there's a lot of static.
So suddenly it cleared up a whole lot better because once again we turned, so who knows how much stuff was blocking us, and we went up again in elevation, so we might have had a better line of sight to her. Well, it's not line of sight, but at least it's closer. All right, we're at about 2.1 miles. How do I sound?
Coming in clear.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Okay, we'll just keep going, see what happens. All right, how about at 2.2 miles? 2.2 miles, can you hear me? I think I may have lost her. 2.3 miles, can you hear me? 2.4 miles, can you hear me? So as you just saw, quarter-mile range, give or take, out of this guy right here, and out of the KG-805G, we were really getting 2 miles, if not a little bit more, off of this guy. But now I also think that you're probably wondering, well, that's great with this gigantic antenna, but what if I don't want that antenna? What if I just want to use the KG-805G out of the box with the stock antenna? How does that compare to a bubble pack radio? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Okay, we're back at the starting point. I've gone ahead and I've put the stock antenna on the KG-805G, but we're going to go ahead and start with the Midlands again, and we're going to do the exact same test and see what happens. All right, I'm ready to go. Okay, I've reset my odometer. Let's see if we get any better or any worse this time with these guys. I'm going to have to wait for some traffic here real quick. Okay, how do I sound now?
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm at about 0.1 miles already. We'll check in at 0.2 miles. Okay, 0.2 miles, how do I sound? Yeah, I'm already starting to lose her, but let's see what happens. 0.3 miles. Yeah, we're doing even worse this time with these. 0.4 miles. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Okay, so let's switch over with the short antenna. Okay, I'm on the good radio, half a mile, short antenna.
Loud and clear.
Not bad, okay. All right, how about now at 0.6 miles?
Still clear.
Okay, we're just going to keep going with this. We're at 0.7 miles. I'll check in at 0.8. All right, 0.8 miles. How do I sound?
Still hear you with static.
Yeah, there's a lot more static now. But I could still at least hear her kind of. So let's see what happens. It may clear up around this curve. Okay, I'm at 0.1, or no, actually, I'm at 1 mile.
You're breaking up.
Yeah, it sounded better to me, but she said I was breaking up. All right, how about at 1.1 miles?
I can hear you with a lot of static.
Yeah. All right, how about 1.2 miles? So I can still hear her, but it's really difficult to understand her. There's so much static on the line. It may improve here. We're going downhill right now. It'll probably get worse when I go downhill, but let's see. 1.4 miles, how do I sound? 1.4 miles? Can you hear me at all at 1.5 miles? So there's a pretty big difference between using this upgraded Nagoya antenna versus the stock antenna. Generally speaking, with this 771G antenna, you will get double the range compared with the stock antenna. Now, let's be realistic about this though. This is a big antenna. It's big and it's floppy. If you're skiing or hiking, this is not going to be a practical solution for you. You're going to want to use a shorter antenna. So you may still want to use the stock antenna because, you know, it's still going to give you in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 times the range over a bubble pack Midland radio like this one. So it's still a really good deal, but you can go one step further. It ends up Nagoya makes this little antenna. This is the Nagoya NA-771G. It's actually just a little bit shorter than the stock antenna. And according to people on the internet, this works better than the stock antenna. However, I have been unable to prove that. I've done some tests, and in my tests, the stock antenna and the 701 worked exactly the same. I got the same audio quality and the exact same range out of both antennas. That being said, this is the shorter antenna. It is more flexible, weighs less than the stock antenna. So for $13 or $14, this is still a good, little upgrade to add onto your radio. And this is actually the antenna that I use when I'm just using this radio, hiking around or anything like that. Now there is a whole lot more that I could talk about, with the KG-805Gs. Yes, they do have repeater channel support. Yes, if you go into the menu system, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can configure. But I'm not going to go into that in this video because, well, I'm pretty sure that most of the people watching are really only interested in, what's the range and what's the audio quality. That is the most important thing after all. And also there are plenty of other YouTube videos out there where they go into much more detail about repeater channels and all the settings for this radio. So, where do you actually buy the KG-805G and the Nagoya antennas? Well, it ends up, and by the way, they are not paying me to say this, they don't even know I exist, but you can only get them from one place, and that is a website called buytwowayradios.com. That is the only place that these are available. Now, if you go onto Amazon, you will see Nagoya NA-771 and 701 antennas for sale, but they are not the 771G or the 701G. The G is a special version of this antenna that is specifically tuned for GMRS frequencies. Additionally, if you go on Amazon, there are a whole lot of fakes out there. So the only place to get the G version and to make sure it's a legitimate one is buytwowayradios.com. I've bought many things from them. I've been extremely happy with them. Free shipping, fast shipping, and currently they are not charging sales tax. Hallelujah. So buytwowayradios.com, highly recommended. Love the Wouxun KG-805G. Love the Nagoya NA-771G. One last thing that I feel like I have to mention is this. To legally transmit on a GMRS radio, you need to have a GMRS license from the FCC. You go to the FCC website, you fill out some information, they will send you an email with your license in it and with your call sign that they randomly assign to you. I will leave links below showing you how to do that. But here's my beef. I'm willing to bet that 99% of the people who buy GMRS radios never buy the FCC GMRS license. I mean, why would they, right? I mean, most people are buying bubble pack radios. Why would they spend as much or more on the license than they did on the radio? Very few, if anybody, actually buys it, but you're supposed to, and I did. I have a license, and when you have the license and you start using your radio every 15 minutes, legally, you are supposed to announce your call sign. So I will say, this is WRNA 890 doing a test of the Wouxun KG-805G. Legally, that's what you're supposed to do. That's what I do to keep things legal. That's what you should do to keep things legal. But 99% of the people don't do that. Personally, I think that the only real use for that license would be for stationary high-powered GMRS stations. So like say you have a 50-watt transmitter on a mountain, then it makes sense to have a license. But I think for the average person just buying these for their camping trip or their ski trip or whatever, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I think that it's a futile effort from the FCC to try to do anything about it, because 99% of the people buying these never buy the licenses. So that's my rant for the day. I apologize, I just had to get that off my chest. Fantastic radios, I highly recommend. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments, please leave them below.